Welcome back to Loveland Report and Lone Ranger Show. I am Cleve Loveland, Central Florida's best real estate planner, alongside Bruce Woodburn, the Lone Ranger. If you want a loan, you can arrange that.
I can arrange it.
You have
That's
more products that I think than a centipede has legs.
I'll tell you what. I wish you guys could see this, but here, Cleve, there is a list of my products right there. That's
hilarious.
That is
cracks me up. You guys,
we couldn't cover them in the show. We just couldn't.
I have lenders call me at my office wanting to meet me because I'm one of the top agents in town, and they'll say, "Well, I've got great products." I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're not with Cross Country.
Yeah,
you need to call Bruce Woodburn. Go ask him about his products. Then go to work for Bruce. Then come back and see.
Then come back and tell me
exactly.
That's right.
So real quick, I want to dive. I got some listings here. We're talking about great prices. I've got one here, 300,000. This is way below that median price. This is in Royal Harbor, 55 and better community in Tavares. Beautiful lakefront property there on the Harris Chain of Lakes. 1,600 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths for 300,000. Fresh carpet, fresh paint, wood floors, big open living area, 2-car garage. I've got a condominium in Dr. Phillips for 195,000. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,100 square feet. Upstairs unit, so you got vaulted ceilings and waterfront views. Go over to, I love this price here, 370,000 for a beautiful townhome in Narcoossee, the Lake Nona area, 1,400 square feet, Water's Edge community, gated community. You've got single family homes around. This neighborhood's amenities are outrageous, Bruce. This house has 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1,400 square feet with a 1-car garage, but the community has a dock on the lake, fitness center, right, clubhouse, tennis courts, basketball, everything in it. Gated community too for 370,000. That's the best price in this community, and one of the best prices in Lake Nona along that Narcoossee corridor. I've got a fully furnished rental property. This is a vacation rental property, or you could live in it. It comes fully furnished, 425,000. This is one of the ones I was talking about. Know your market. Yep. There's about 10 of these for sale, Bruce. They're all over 450,000. They're all the same floor plan. I mean, this is a great neighborhood. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, made to be a vacation rental. This owner uses it extensively. He still makes about $1,000 a month off rent. It goes for about $200 a night. 1,900 square feet for a townhome, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 425,000 in Stony Brook South. And then I've got a lakefront house, 1.6 million on the Sand Lake chain, 3,000 square feet. Nice thing about this, Bruce, everything around it is up over 2 million. All the other lakefronts over 2 million. On the lake with a pool, beautiful I-Drive skyline at night, Disney fireworks out the front door at night, and just beautiful property. And call me, 1.6 million. Price was just adjusted on that. These owners are ready. They're moving off to the beach, and they're ready to sell that. So call me at 407-352-8118 or go to cleveloveland.com.
Yeah, if you want to get a mortgage to buy that house or any other house that you might want to buy.
Actually, it's open house today.
Oh, also, fantastic.
Yeah, so if you want to see that is in
who's going to be sitting out there?
Harry's out there. That's 7546 Point Venetia Drive. So that's all advertised on Realtor.com.
Or you can call. Can you text that number at your 352?
Call me. Yeah, call me. No, you can't text that number. Call the office or get through. But 7546 Point Venetia, Dr. Phillips.
There you go. Or call or text the Lone Ranger. You know, it's funny. Last week, I got a call from a gentleman that called me, and he goes, "Hey, can you help manage my rental properties for me?" And I'm like, "Nope, that's not what I do." And he goes, "But I thought that's what you were talking about on the air." And I went, that would have been Cleve. So I sent that gentleman over.
I'm going to see him this week.
Yeah. So
he did me cardinal rule. He broke cardinal rule number 1. He put a friend in there who pays him about half the rent he should, and he doesn't have the heart to tell the friend to get out. So I'm going to be the bad guy.
Well, you know what? Sometimes that's what it takes, man.
Well, actually, we're not going to tell him to get out. We're going to say, "Hey, your new rent's $1,800. We're giving you a break. It should be $2,000, but we're
going to give you $1,800 before it goes to $2,000." And I told him,
he said he's going on vacation and not answering his phone when I told a friend that.
Anyway. I would say the biggest mistake that most landlords use is not the selection. Is not selecting a tenant, but it's selecting a family member. If you put somebody that's a friend or family member in a home, I'm going to tell you something. Just plan on calling it charity. Because that's
you are better off to loan them, give them a couple $1,000s than to let them be your tenant.
Yeah, it's like loaning your family member
so much money.
Yeah. If you loan somebody or a friend or family money, just go ahead and give it to them.
I do want to say
because it'll destroy your relationship.
The other thing you said, the most important part in the selection process is the credit check and the problems when you don't do that upfront check, the deep dive. Credit income history. Do they have evictions? Who's in the home? Every single person over 18 has got to sign that lease and do a credit check. That's where people go, I don't know why they pay me the first month.
So when you're looking at credit,
it's a very, very basic credit. It's not like a credit score.
So, but are you looking at credit scores? What are you looking for?
It gives us a report of good accounts and bad accounts. So I can see if they've got 5 late. It's a very basic. I don't know if it's a soft pull. It doesn't give us a number, but I can tell, okay, these people are a wreck. And then sometimes it is, hey, I had a divorce 3 years ago. I've got 5 things on there. The ex-wife was supposed to pay that. And I'm like, okay, great. We're going to get a $4,000 deposit instead of a $2,000 deposit. They go, great. I protected the asset.
Sure.
So, and then they had and I look at, it's kind of like a 2 out of 3 thing. If the income's good, credit might be shaky, but the past housing history is great. They got great references from their last landlord, that kind of thing. I look at all that.
So I agree with that, because when I'm choosing a tenant for my properties, I am less concerned about their credit. I am more concerned about their debt ratio and their past rental history. So that's what I'm looking at.
Well, it's funny,
because
Bruce,
if they have marginal credit, that just means they're going to rent from me for longer.
Yeah. When we interview people to look at rental properties, we don't go running over there every time somebody calls on a house. No. Usually we'll show it 2 or 3 times a week. We say, hey, we're going to be there tomorrow afternoon at 4.
Oh yeah.
We tell everybody, I want everybody to be there at the same time.
Absolutely.
But what's funny is we'll have 10 people. We send them our 2 pages of rules and regs, and only 3 will show up. Sure. But those 7 that didn't show, those are the ones we don't want anyway.
Well, sure. So. Yeah. And you tell them right off the bat, I need previous rental references. And as soon as, listen, here's tip number 1 for me. As soon as a tenant tells you that they had a bad experience or they had a bad landlord, it may be true that they did, but that scares me, because whenever I've got somebody that's claiming to be a victim of the landlord didn't do this, the landlord's terrible, I am not interested in getting involved with that person. I want to make sure that I've got tenants that pay their rent on time, take great care of my home. That's what I care about, and don't disrupt my neighborhood. My neighbors, I make friends with my neighbors in my rental communities, so they can kind of be my sentry for me and keep an eye on things.
Yep.
Make sure there's no wild parties going on that could disrupt the neighborhood or damage my property.
Well, people know when they know the sheriff's in town, you get less of that.
If you don't want those headaches, call Cleve. He can be reached right now. He'll manage your property. 407-352-8118 for the loan arranger. I've got lots of rental properties. I've built my career around acquiring properties, and you should too. It's the best way to establish wealth. It's the easiest way to do it. Call me. I can help you with that on your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 10th. We had a client added 120 properties, had way more than I ever had. Call me now at 407-250-9144 or go to WeBringYouHome.com and get your application started right now.
All right, Bruce, we've talked about DSCRs a little bit. We talked about credit pulls. We talked about fast tracking.
Money. We talked about what the Fed's
I want
to
talk
do.
about when I'm talking about negotiations on a contract. When we help buyers, one thing that sellers should consider helping buyers out is with a buy down. That's one thing that lessens the pain. Talk about a buy down.
A temporary buy down. So most people think of a buy down as, hey, you're going to get me to pay a couple points and I'm going to get a little bit lower interest rate. Well, newsflash, folks. You can't pay enough points to get your interest rate to where you're going to go, wow, that's just great. Like you can go from a 7 1/8 to a 6 7/8, but that's about as far as you're going to go. But if you want to go from a 7 to a 5 or a 4, then you have to do what's called a temporary buy down. These are funded by the seller, and the seller is essentially prepaying the payments for you. So let's just say the rate's 7 and you want a 2-1 buy down. I'm going to start you at 5, then 6, then 7. So each year it's going to step up. So the goal is that we think rates are going to drop within the next 24 months, right?
Yeah.
I was pricing out one for a client just yesterday on new construction. The 2-1 buy down cost $8,000 for him. Mm-hmm. The 3-2-1 buy down cost almost $16,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So the builder was giving him 20. So I ran one with him using up all the money on the 3-2-1, using it up on the 2-1. He was able to get all of his closing costs paid and the buy down on a 2-1 buy down.
He picked the 2-1.
He picked the 2-1.
I don't think you'll need the 3-2-1. Right
you don't need the 3-2-1, but he had interference.
When I started in
in-law.
In 1992, in 1993, they used that all the time.
Yeah.
It was very, that's my first loans that I learned was a 3-2-1 because rates were 8.5.
Oh yeah. And FHA had their own step up program.
Prices were only 80,000, 90,000 on a new home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
those
anyway, so you want to call Bruce? What's the phone number?
407-250-9144. That's 407-250-9144 for the loan arranger. And, or go to my website. You can do a quick online application.
All right.
Super easy. WeBringYouHome.com.
And
what else you got there?
I was talking about the three most important things in real estate. Location. Loveland.
Yeah, that's
marketing guy came up with that for me about 20 years ago. It's pretty funny. I'm like, hey, that's awesome. But negotiating. So when you're a buyer, I think it's very important you don't stop negotiating. And this is why, especially, and this is what's funny. It's what's good about having an experienced negotiator. You know, we've always had these sellers that say, Nanette talks to me all the time about when she makes offers for our buyers, and the seller goes, we're not negotiating. We're not paying closing costs and all these things. And what do they end up doing? They end up paying closing costs. Because usually what it is they're not getting the right info. They're saying, well, I want $450 for the house. I'm like, great. We'll give you $460. We need $10,000 in costs. Is that okay? Oh, yeah. All right. Or we want to use $5,000 for a buy down. You know, that's as long the other agents, what I find is the other agent, the listing agents don't know what we're talking about on the numbers.
Well,
I have to explain to them the numbers. I had one the other day. They were complaining about the rate and we're not budging on our price because I'm getting tons of activity on this house. And this agent's like, well, they can't afford that. I'm like, well, then you need to call Bruce, first of all, because their lender had worked up a very vague pre-qual and the rates on it didn't make sense and the product didn't make sense. I said, well, they need to requalify with somebody else or find out what else they can do to get their score up.
Absolutely.
And I asked them if that lender had done that. They go, what do you mean? Yeah. And I'm like, so it's about having the right people around you. But when you're negotiating, you know, when you get a house, let's say you do have multiple offers, get it, lock it down, go in 10, 15,000 over list. You'll probably get it. You can always backpedal on inspection, say, whoa, wait a minute, we got more work than we thought. We're going to, And if the seller says, no, I'm going to go on with offer number 2, that means you have somebody else willing to pay the same amount for the house. You're okay. You did not overpay.
Absolutely.
But most of the time they will give something on that. I've also had them where it didn't on repairs. You know, the seller's like, well, I can fix that. Or my buyer's like, well, I can fix those little things. I don't mind doing that. I'll do that on one weekend.
Sure.
Say, well, how about we ask the seller for another $2 or $3 grand in costs?
Yep.
And okay. And so there's always ways to squeeze money.
Well, I think this is an important topic right here. And I think that our listeners need to really understand what Cleve is saying. Right now, you can do that.
Yes.
But when rates drop, you will not be able to do that.
Then I'm just going to say, then I'm going to tell them, like all these multiple offers we had in those times, like, get the house under contract. It's more important you get the house you like. You're not going to overpay. You're protected. If you do say, well, after inspection, say, I don't like that. I want to take 10,000 off the price. And they say no. You know, there's people lined up behind you to buy it for that price. You're not going to get hurt.
Absolutely. But in this market, sellers don't have as many buyers knocking on their doors. Sellers should not look
the gift horse in the mouth, like I said earlier.
Exactly like you said earlier, Cleve. But my point is that what I don't think these buyers that need help with closing costs are understanding is that when rates drop, and I know that's why you're sitting on the sidelines, you're waiting for rates to drop, but what's going to happen is you'll have no ability to get closing costs or repairs done because the seller won't have to do it when they've got 25 people knocking on their door.
We got less than a minute, but I had one last week. We told the house appraised for more than our contract price. The listing agent, our buyer, other listing agent, thought I was literally crazy going lunars because we asked to raise the price. I'm like, get appraised for more. We can raise the price, get more closing costs. Here's the math. Do the math for your seller. They had never in their life seen this. And I'm like, okay, in your short 13-month career, I'm like, go talk to your broker. Or let me talk to your broker. We got it done. Right. So, but my seller got a little less money out of pocket because he had things he wanted. Excuse me, my buyer got a little less money out of his pocket.
I think that's an important thing. And I want to talk about this for 15 seconds. You generally, when I'm talking to my listeners, generally do not know how to choose a great real estate agent because you don't know their stats. You're choosing people to help you on your most important investment that you know because they're your neighbor or your boss's wife or something like that. Don't make the mistake of doing that. Call Cleve. He's got the expertise. He'll be honest with you about what you can do and don't do. Cleve Loveland, 407-352-8118, or Bruce Woodburn, the loan arranger, Cross Country Mortgage, 407-250-9144. That's 407-250-9144, or WeBringYouHome.com. God bless all of you. Thanks for joining Cleve and I. We really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.